mean, it was important to Bruce to make money,
Yeah.
and you can't get past that. I mean, he commented to me once that what Ed Richards had discovered was that, or I don't know if he discovered it, but he and Ed figured out that the government wanted houses built to house all the millions of returning soldiers. So there were all these government incentives to build houses, and they used all of them to make a lot of money. They were not Frank Lloyd Wright kind of architects. I mean, your father probably would have been appalled at some of the stuff Frank Lloyd Wright built. I mean, grandfather.
Well, it's
I mean,
funny.
every building he ever built had a flat roof. Everything Frank Lloyd Wright ever built had a flat roof, and to my knowledge, every one of them was a nightmare in terms of leaking roofs.
I
Bruce
was
would have never done that.
I was just thinking that he might have come from the school of minimalism, because I thought minimalism would have actually been more pragmatism of
Well,
serving out
yeah, I
function.
think that's true. And, he grew up in the Great Depression, and while he would tell you it didn't affect him any, he certainly saw it affect a lot of people. And that house that he designed that you saw in the newspaper was the most pragmatic house you could possibly design. I mean, it was built at minimum cost to get maximum effectiveness in a small size. But
What was the quote?
later,
What was the quote he told you at the that he said about the 10,000 houses or units?
he said, he said, I have built, designed and built 10,000 houses, 10,000 units of housing, and every one of them is still standing, and every one of them is still making money.
And what do you think he meant by what was? Do you
I
know the
think it's
context?
very clear what he meant. That the fact that they were solid and weren't shoddy construction. They were good designs and good, well executed, and the fact that they made a profit were the two most important things to him. He didn't give a shit about aesthetics. I mean, he did with his own house to some extent. I mean, there's a lot of aesthetic elements here, but nothing extra, nothing frou frou.
Yeah.
I mean, that just wasn't Bruce. I mean, I heard him when he was talking about designing a golf course. He said, you know where the money is on a golf course? It's the houses facing the green, and on the 19th hole at the bar.
Because
I mean, money was very. You can't put a. There's not a bad face to be put on it because he was very generous with it, but money was important to Bruce.
how so? Because you mean because it was efficiency, right?
I guess, but he was important that he. I mean, he went to work for Ed Richards because Ed offered him the first time. Ed had made him a job offer. He turned it down, and when Ed offered to pay him twice what he was making at the FHA, he took him up on it. It was all about money. It wasn't about. It wasn't a Frank Lloyd Wright thing about building, you know, grand houses or interesting houses that were works of art. It was about making money
Wow. I didn't know he turned down Ed Richards.
the first time.
Was that right after college?
No, I mean he got out of college, went in the Navy. World War II happened. he got out and he moved to Greensboro, and his first job was in the FHA. And Ed Richards came looking for him to hire him a job, to give him a job, because he wanted a chief architect that understood Raleigh and understood business and understood land. He could look at a piece of land and tell what it was best suited for.
Huh. I never thought about it from that angle. That's a pretty.
I th-
Go ahead.
no, that's it.
Yeah.
I mean, that was his genius. If it was, he knew Raleigh. He knew everybody in Raleigh, which Ed didn't. Ed was from New York. Bruce was from Raleigh. And remember, Bruce's degree was in architectural engineering, not architecture. It wasn't about design. It was about engineering. I mean, if you talk to Bruce when he was old, he could tell you exactly what size beams you needed to use with what spacing and what span. I mean, he was first and foremost an architectural engineer. He wanted to build stuff at the least cost that was solid and wouldn't fall down, and that they could sell at a profit.
Wow.
And I mean, I remember him telling me one time that they asked to have some housing rezoned in Lewisburg so they could put 4 houses an acre, and Lewisburg turned them down. So they bought the acre and put 20 apartment buildings on it.
And Lewisburg turned who down?
Ed and Bruce wanted to build 4 houses per acre in Lewisburg, and Lewisburg turned it down. So Ed and Bruce bought the land and put up 20 apartments on it.
Oh, wow. So they really did density population.
Yeah, sure. I mean, he built a lot of apartments. He built a lot of shopping centers, built a lot of apartments, very few individual houses that I'm aware of. They were about commercial development.
So would you call Pop-Up an architect or a developer?
I think he was a developer, but I think he was an architect to the extent that Bruce, he did design that house, and he probably designed this house, although I don't know for sure he did. But Bruce later, when he went to work for Ed, he wasn't interested in designing houses. He was interested in laying out neighborhoods.
Huh.
That's what he did. He and Ed would see 60 acres of land, and Bruce would lay out the streets and how it would be built out, where they'd put apartments. I mean, if you look, Bruce was always building apartments. Bruce was not an individual home architect kind of person. I'm not sure I know of a single house Bruce built that he designed and built other than this one.
Yeah. Because the money wasn't there.
He was a commercial architect, huh?
Yeah, because the money wasn't there. And he was chasing money.
Yeah, I think so.
Wow.
That's what I mean by being a pragmatist. He had 3 children and a wife that liked to spend a lot of money to support. He didn't want it for himself. I mean, you saw what he bought for his own clothes. He was always perfectly happy driving a company Chevrolet, although I do think he bought a Cadillac once, mostly for Polly. But I mean, he'd go to Walmart once a year and buy some white socks and some white shorts and some white T-shirts. I mean, a lot of very successful people are like that. I went up to see Peggy's father's house, and he had his little bedroom. I mean, this man was many times over a millionaire. He designed and built the interstate highway system in the eastern United States. That's how important he was. He owned, Peggy's piece of land was just one of the 300 or 400 acre plots he owned in South Carolina. But in his own house, his bedroom was about the size of, it was maybe 8 by 10 feet, and it didn't have a single thing. It had white walls, didn't have a single thing on the walls, not a TV or a radio, had a single bed and a bedside table with a lamp.
Wow.
Very simple man. I think a lot of those men that came out of the 30s, out of the Great Depression, were not so much about self-aggrandizement. There was nothing more important to Bruce than being solid. Just solid. Just he could handle anything. He could afford anything. He never worried about running out of money. Now, I think he did when he first moved to Raleigh. He told me one time, he said he paid he said he never didn't pay a bill, but they weren't always on time. So I gather he, between getting started and 3 children and, Polly, and Polly never cut corners on anything. And Bruce was the engine behind that made it work. And he was well aware of being very solid financially.
Wow. You've really spent a lifetime kind of soaking in Pop-Up. I never got it to this optic. It's a pretty descriptive view.
Well, it's true. And he never spent any money on himself. The only time I ever saw him spend money on himself was when he went and bought a video camera.
Yeah.
That Sony. I never saw when his TV finally died, when he was much older and asked me to go buy him a TV, he specified in great detail it not be more than a 19-inch television.
Wow.
He was very I certainly wouldn't call him miserly. He gave a lot of people a lot of money, but he for himself, he was a very careful man in how he spent money.
Wow. Yeah.
He didn't care about nice clothes. He didn't care about nice cars. He did care about a nice house.
Yeah. Huh. Thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. That was a pretty great expose on Bruce Cauthen.
Well, I don't mean it in any bad way, because the fact that Bruce was that solid saved all of us at one time or another.
Yeah.
He took her mother to live with him. He had sister live with him when she had cancer. He looked after all of us. I mean, there was nothing more important to Pop-Up than to be able to look after people. So on the side, if you want to balance that side of money was very important to him, also balance the side that about Pop-Up, that no birthday ever went without a chocolate cake. Nobody ever needed anything that Pop-Up didn't provide for them.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter what it was.
Yeah. Was that the urgency to call me back to tell the other side of the story?
Well, that is the biggest side of the story, really. I mean, that's when I remember Pop-Up every night in my prayers. I describe him as the most generous man that gave us all the life we have today.
Yeah.
That if we behave properly, we'll pass it to our children.
Yeah. Well,
So I mean, don't leave out that's the most important side. I was just telling you his business side as being an architect, but
yeah.
as being a person, the most important thing I think for Bruce was to look after other people. I mean, you ever been in the house Bruce didn't have something cooked and ready to eat
Yeah, that's a good point.
on his hot plate?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's two different sides to Bruce, the business architect side and then the person side. And as a person, I never met anybody more generous.
Agreed. That's a good point. All right, Dad,
All right.
I'm gonna go ahead and write it all
Okay.
up. All right, thanks,
Okay,
Dad.
love you. Bye.
Bye.